Good afternoon, peeps, possibly good morning or even good evening, depending on when you are watching this. I just wanted to do a little update. In late June, early July 2022, Sasha Hope pulled out of co-facilitating a workshop with Matiu Te Huki. He invited me to step in without sharing at the time why Sasha had pulled out. And so I said yes. I'm like, I've known Matiu for a long time. And I was like, yeah, that sounds freaking awesome. I've been looking for opportunities to co-facilitate. Yeah, anyway, I said yes. And then I'm like, I need to talk to Sasha and just find out what the story is. Talked to Sasha and found out the reason that she'd pulled out of co-facilitating the retreat, which was around sacred masculinity, feminine work, was that she had concerns about the way that Matiu operated in terms of the facilitator participant boundaries, right? Those roles. And she had had a few people approach her after the retreats that they had led, expressing concern about some of the interactions that they'd had with Matiu on the retreat. And so she'd spoken to Matiu about it and hadn't made much headway and just felt like it wasn't an integrity for her to do the work. So then when I discover this, I'm like, oh, okay, we need to address this. And Matiu did a post off his own bat, which has something like 300 comments. And I suggested to him that we do a video conversation about the issue, because it wasn't just about the facilitator participant relationship. It was also about the way that he had been conducting himself in his personal relationships, which was not in alignment with the body of work that he was teaching. So we did the interview, you can see it on YouTube, and it blew up to a degree, and it started this huge conversation in the community. I mean, it's been an ongoing conversation for a while, but it really brought the conversation up even more around specifically facilitator participant dynamics and how that functions in the spiritual community, how we I facilitate, I present, right? And how we handle those relationships, and do we need codes of ethics, et cetera, et cetera. And there's been a lot of conversations going on. I've had so many conversations about this. Brian Burneman and I we did a great podcast conversation on his podcast. I'll drop a link somewhere for that. And he talked about his experience as a male presenter and facilitator and how he operates in that space. It's so much around containment of sexual energy, right? Being able to sense and feel sexual energy and contain it rather than allowing it to run, sending out those tendrils and calling in, a partner as such. And this is the energetic realm. We're talking about working in the energetic realm and understanding the way that sexuality functions on an energetic level, right? Which, if you're teaching anything to do with energy processes or dynamics or masculine feminine work, you need to have sensitivity to this. You need to understand it, and you definitely need to work in a trauma-informed way. Alrighty, so that all happened late June, early July, and I have not really commented on it much since then. There've been the conversations going on in the background. Bex, who runs Evolve Festival with her partner Chai, she has put a whole lot of work into creating a code of ethics, which her festival, Evolve Festival, Epic Festival, I will be presenting there. Highly suggest you come along. This is a shameless promo for that festival right now. Yes, this is true. It's late January down in South Island. Anyway, she's done the hard work on the code of ethics, and all the presenters will be signing that code of ethics. So there's something to look at. And then a presenter can't say, well, I didn't know anything about that. Did you read the code of ethics? Did you educate yourself? Do you realize as a facilitator presenter, it is on you to understand these dynamics, because you are the person in a position of power? And if Bex, bless her, has generously shared and is sharing that code of ethics with other festivals like NZ Spirit Festival, Resolution Festival run by Franco, and I think Revive Festival run by Jock. Yes, I will be at all of those festivals presenting. Got to come along to those. Sorry, why am I apologizing? I'm apologizing because I'm being a little bit flirtatious, right? I'm being a little bit on the edge. Right? Playing with the energies. Okay, So this is all happening, right? So just to give you a little bit of an update, and there's other conversations that are occurring as well. There's a few podcasts coming out around this. I've been talking to Ellie Wild a lot because she's been involved with ISTA and in the past, and she, you know, has a lot of really good insights around trauma-informed work. She's been educating herself massively, doing amazing work. There's so much goodness happening, so much goodness. All right, where am I going with this? There's so much I could say. I'm doing a video because it's faster than an article, because an article can sometimes take me 5 or 6 hours to write. I'm like, I want to do this justice, but I need to talk about this. Let's go video. So it's a bit messy. Okay, so Matiu got in touch with me. He did his tour, right? Matiu did his tour, which included coming through Thames, and he didn't get in touch with me to catch up. And I got in touch with him, but he didn't respond. And I was a bit like, going on? Like, you know, I'm meant to be supporting him in this. What's happening? And when he was on the tour, I had a few people message me saying, I think Matiu's teaching the masculine feminine work that he said he wasn't going to teach. And I'm like, what? What's happening? Because so after the interview, etc., Matiu did another post where he laid out very clearly all the actions that he was going to take to do the work required so that he could continue, or he could step back into the work he does in full integrity. And it's like, that's what we want. You know, we love you, Matiu. You do amazing work that you do, and there's an integrity piece that needs to be looked at here. There's dynamics which need to be dealt with, right? So when he did that post that said, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 it's like, yay, he's going to attend to this. And one of the things was that he was stopping teaching the masculine feminine work until he decided he was ready, folks. I thought it was until he was actually ready, right? And who determines that? I mean, that there is a question in that. But he started teaching again on the tour in July. But I didn't get confirmation of that until after the tour because he didn't catch up with me. Wonder why he didn't want to see me. I went up to Langhome as well, reached out to him before then to see if we could catch up when he was doing the Langhome show, sit down, have a coffee, like what's going on, where you at with what you know, your accountability, but he didn't respond to my messages. Okay, so tour finishes. Finally here, about a week later, I finally hear from Matiu. And he's like, hey, sister, let's jump on a video call and have a call at all. I'm like, yeah, it'd be great to catch up and find out what's going on. So we do that, and what I notice is I go into the call wanting to talk to him about the fact he's teaching a body of work that I feel like he's not ready to teach. He's not qualified to teach, and he's out of integrity in teaching it. And on the call, something was going on energetically, and I felt, right, I'm not saying that Matiu was doing this, I'm going to be really clear on this, but what I felt, I can own my own experience. I felt this really strong energy that was like trying to control me, trying to dominate me. Now, I don't know if that's my shit only or what was going on, but what I noticed was I couldn't speak up. I felt silenced, and I couldn't say the things I wanted to say to Matiu about the things I wanted to say. So going through the call, you know, and he starts saying, you know, thank you so much for the way you've supported me. You've been amazing. You've been wonderful. You've stood in love. You've stood in truth. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, cool. Okay, great. What's coming? And then a couple of minutes later, he's like, oh, and, you know, do you think you could take the video interview down off YouTube? And I'm like, what? The video interview, can you take it down? And I was like, I need to contemplate that. I literally, I wanted to say, no, I'm not taking that down, because that's like accountability, and there's nothing bad about it. It's, you know, like it's a really beautifully held, lots of love video. Why do you want it taken down? Anyway, I just said I'd contemplate. Long story short, over the last 6 weeks, I've said, no, I'm not going to take it down. He keeps messaging me and asking me and blah, 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 blah. And what I notice in this, I want to please him. You know, I want to make him happy. Everything in me would love, you know, part of me is like, I would love to take the video down and make this fucking thing go away, because it's been huge. I feel like the amount of communication coming, and he won't take no for an answer. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, take no for an answer. His thing that he's saying, he's like, I'm getting turned down from festivals because they've seen the video, and because of the video, I'm losing work. And I'm like, wait a second. No, do you think that maybe you're losing work because of your lack of integrity? Like, and so he's blaming the video interview for losing work. And I, like, I'm getting hot. You can see a little bit of sweat. Like, I think it's so important that we as a community hold Matiu in this. And it's so important that we don't like take away his livelihood, and that we don't reject and ostracize. Like, I think that's really, really critical. And at the same time, I don't feel that he is in integrity to teach masculine feminine work on how men and women need to interact. And I've seen this clearly in the interactions that he and I are having around this interview. I keep making the conversation into an email conversation, and I'm CCing in our colleagues and peers, so it's not just him and I. And he keeps bringing the conversation back to just him and I, and on to voice message. And I then bring it back into email with all of us, because I want to check my own behavior. I want other people to be seeing what I'm saying, so that if I'm out of integrity, I can trust that one of my colleagues, peers, will say, you're out of integrity right now, and I can listen to that. I've run the whole thing past my own supervisor, like, it's like doing all this work around it. So where it's at right now is that Matiu is now saying that he did nothing wrong, that it was all blown out of proportion. The video needs to come down because he hasn't done anything wrong. And I've just gone, you what? Because I've heard from women, right? The women, the women who have interacted with Matiu in the presenter participant, facilitator participant dynamic, and felt uncomfortable, at ease, that boundaries were violated, right? I'm not talking about him necessarily having sex with people. I'm talking about energetic boundaries. I'm talking about and this is part of the problem, right? Is that we haven't been that specific about what's actually happened. And Machu's turned around and gone, nothing happened. I'm fine. I didn't do anything, and it was blown out of proportion. So I'm like, all righty then. Let's find out exactly what happened. Let's get the information. So I'm creating a Google form, and that Google form is going to be open for anyone who has had an interaction with Matiu or any other presenter facilitator in the New Zealand spiritual community. I mean, I'm still kind of feeling into how to best run it and hold it. And let's just keep it about Matiu for right now, just to share your experience. And in there, you can be totally anonymous. You can leave your name if you want. Like, I'm doing all the things to keep victims, and I'm going to use that word, right, because it is a legal definition. I'm not suggesting that these people are acting out of victimhood in any way, shape, or form, but when someone is praying and someone is on the other side, that's a victim, right? And it's not that they're in victimhood either. Like, let's make that fucking clear. Because I want the facts. I just want to know, the exact things, because this keeps going and it keeps going. And a part of me is like, oh my God, how did I end up in the middle of all this? But I ended up in the middle of all this because I said yes before checking in with Sasha for a start. And that was definitely, the next time someone asked me to co-facilitate something because so-and-so's pulled out, why'd they pull out? Due diligence, darling. Yeah, so I totally own that. But, I've known Matiu for 7 or 8 years. I love the guy and I want to support him. And the stuff that's been happening with him and women and the dynamics, etc., has been going on for years. And I've been hearing whispers of it since 2015. I started to see it myself. And, it's just blown up. And for him to turn around to me and say, there's no problem, I did nothing, I'm just like, bull fucking shit. So, there's a rather energized and animated update on what's been unfolding. I will let you know when you can access the form. And I am in conversation with some of the women that have had problematic interactions with Matiu so that I can start to share their stories, right? It was a very valid point that several people made on Matiu's original post back in June. They were like, where's the women's voice in this? Why are you focusing on Matiu? Why all this attention and energy on Matiu? And the reason for that was that he was the person I was engaging with, right? I was about to co-facilitate a retreat with him. So that's why for me, it was all about Matiu at that time. And at that time, energetically, the whole situation, it triggered my shit around male, female interactions, dynamics, and power. So I needed to go off and do my own work, which I've done with my supervisor, because I'm a facilitator presenter. Yes, I have a supervisor. And I've made some really big shifts in myself. So I feel I'm ready to step back into the fray. I mean, Machi's dragging me into the fray. The number of freaking messages that dude, Machi, love you to bits, but oh my God, dude, no means no. I'm here, I'm in it, I'm getting calls from festival organizers about it, and I'm gonna roll with it. So there will be some video interviews and quite likely articles coming out where I speak to the women and look at this, what it's like to be a woman in these situations where for whatever unfolds, you are taken advantage of, and or there's a whole continuum, right, of being taken advantage of by someone in a position of power all the way through to being abused. And there is another piece that I also want to go into, which is the way that the way women misuse and abuse power. And I just want to acknowledge that that is also a thing, and that it's often more insidious and more subtle than the way that men do it. And we also need to address that. And as a woman, you know, person in a female body, facilitator, presenter, I'm acutely aware of power and my own I wouldn't say propensity, it's not quite the right word, but the ways in which I might be unconsciously or even consciously abusing or taking advantage of people because I'm more powerful, right? I'm more powerful. How am I going to take advantage? And that's an ongoing dialogue I'm having with myself, because I don't want to take advantage of people, and I absolutely do not want to abuse people either. Duh. You know, power is a big thing. How we operate with power is a big thing. And this is ultimately about power, and it's about sexuality, how we show up in these spaces. And festival season is coming, right? So now it's October, festival season's coming. I've got my first one-dayer coming up on November 12th. Estuary Events is holding Spring Festival. I'm not presenting at that one, but I'll be there. So hopefully see some of you there. We need to have these conversations as a community. We need to hold everybody with love and truth, right? Even the people that are enacting the damaging behaviors. I don't want to see people rejected and ostracized and turned into the bad person and vilified. We're beyond that. We're going beyond that. This is not what it's about. It's about loving the fuck out of each other and holding each other to account. You know, one of the reasons I've been able to do the stuff I'm doing with Matiu right now is like, I want to move from love. And the most loving thing I can do for Matiu is to speak the truth, even when I'm shit scared of doing so. And even when there's a part of me that just wants to give him what he wants because then he'll like me, right? No, I need to stand in what is true. So let's not talk shit about each other, folks. Let's recognize that, I mean, you know, full fucking compassion for Matiu right now, because it's a very hard place that he is in, right? There is a part of him that is basically on the bonfire, and he's got to have the willingness to let that burn so he can be reborn. Because Matiu, we know you're an amazing guy. You are an incredible leader. You're so fucking powerful, and I'm rooting for you. You know, I want you to come through this, the other side, and for us to all look back in a decade or 2 decades, you know, and for us to know that you made it through. but I'll not stand here and have you say that you did nothing wrong, that you did nothing harmful, because your actions have harmed people. And that's the fucking truth of it, right? So let's not talk shit about each other. Let's be compassionate and caring and understanding. Let's do our own work. Let's hold the space with truth and love. And let's have a fucking epic festival season.